Welcome. I'm Annie Perdue-Olson, and I am excited to have with me today Carry Metkowski. She is a leadership coach and a TEDx speaker and the author of the Perception Coaching Program. And you know that we're doing this series on assessments, and I'm super excited to make available more information to all of my fans about different assessments that you can use, that you can have access to, that will make a difference in your life. And Carrie is here to talk with us about DISC. Now, you've probably heard about DISC. You've heard lots of things about it, but I want her to help us set us straight on what we need to know about the DISC. So tell us about the DISC.
Sure, thank you for having me. I fell in love with DISC quite a while back and recently rediscovered it when it got pulled under something called Everything DISC through Wiley Publishing. And so I would suppose I could jump right into how does it work. And so if we were to talk about how it works, DISC gets measured across two very specific access points. And it gets, let's see if that does it. Oops. No, well, somewhere along the way, I lost the slide share.
All right. Well, if you, I mean, we could take a few minutes and have you get that back, because it was, if you want to take a peek at it, I will tell a little story while you dig around in it, because I don't know much about DISC. It's one that I took the assessment maybe 20 some years ago, and have recently, in many of the circles that I've been involved in, people have been throwing the name around a little bit. And so I'm really super curious to learn a little bit more about myself, actually, even as you're talking this through and working it through. So I'm super excited. And so how's the slide share going?
It's coming, finally. I think we've got it.
Yay!
And so if we kind of just brush through just even briefly, like how does DISC work? It measures against 4 different points on 2 different axes. And the first axis point that it runs across is something called fast-paced and outspoken, or is the person more cautious and reflective? And so even if you just think of somebody in your mind right now, just ask yourself, are they more fast-paced and outspoken or cautious and reflective? And then if you think, let's measure across the second axis that it measures against, and that is, do you think they're more questioning and skeptical, or do you happen to think they might be more warm and accepting? And then from there, it lands out very squarely into the DISC overlay, which is if they tend to be warm and accepting and fast-paced and outspoken, they're probably an I. Or if they are fast-paced and outspoken and questioning and skeptical, they're going to be a D. It's measuring their disposition is what this particular personality profile measures.
Yeah.
So
when you're talking about disposition, is it kind of like their natural inclinations, or just what comes easy? Is it the way that they interact with others? Like, is it behaviors you see or motivations that are inside of you?
It's more behaviors that you can witness, but behaviors come from motivations and motivations, right?
Yeah, so they're linked.
Yeah, they're linked. And so it comes from both. But this one just particularly helps. I would say the strength of this one happens to be speed to use, meaning somebody can learn about it very quickly and then walk into the job place or the marketplace and really begin to practice very quickly. And so that's something that I really appreciate about this specific tool and its ability to do that.
Well, I would think it would be really because of the quick understanding. You only have 4 domains that you have to pay attention to, and the way that you describe them, it's pretty easy to think of someone that fits into those different categories. Yep. Well, then it makes it possible for you to come into a situation and know, okay, this is how I'm going to be. You can observe the behaviors of others and go, how do I need to change my behaviors and what I'm doing to make a greater connection to those people who are different than me? I tend to be maybe a little bit more of a loud and outgoing kind of a person. But if I'm going into a group that is a little bit more soft-spoken and maybe more S, then I can tone down my exuberance to be able to make a greater connection to them. So it's like I can take quick action from it.
Yeah, immediate. And for me, that works really well. Places that it plays out really well, I would say, are places like big box retail. Places where there's a lot of transactions that need to happen, less relational workplaces, more transactional. And the other pretty big indicator I've noticed is if they are measuring to really tight profit margins. So if you think, again, this is big box retail, a lot of healthcare industries, banking, they're measuring to a 1.8 to a 2.2 profitability margin. And so transactions, speed of transactions really helps their profitability.
Yeah.
And so them being able to get a hold of things quickly, this is the perfect tool for that sort of a scenario.
Yeah.
They don't need to go too deep in understanding something. They can step right out, like after even an hour session, step right into the workplace and apply.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you can apply it so quickly. Always with all assessments, there is the tendency to like lock people into a box and kind of assume that they're that way. And I recognize that with DISC, because of the quick uptake, you have probably a greater risk of that kind of thing happening. But I think that that's about user error. I think we have to understand that when we're using assessments, it doesn't matter whatever assessment we're using, that we're only observing behaviors. We're not observing who a person really is and their motivation. So while it's a great starting point, it's a springboard to conversation, not like the end point of the conversation.
And this is a tool that I think it really lives out more in practice. The more you practice, the more skillful you become. And then that's where it didn't quite map here. I missed this point where you do actually have to stop and go, okay, that's where that tool limits. It has a limit. It stops right there. And now what do I do with this person in this situation? But it is certainly a great, it creates a lot of awareness, and then it creates pretty quick, actionable ideas, which people tend to really love.
Yeah. Well, and as author of the Perception Coaching Program, how do you integrate DISC into the way that you do your program?
Sure. So I start off with a 363 feedback tool, which is part of the Everything DISC suite of products.
Yes.
So I use their anonymous confidential feedback tool. But then the way DISC shows up in many cases is through the coaching as we're going through something and there's a behavior that's become apparent. It's very frequent. Like I'll share a story very quickly. This past week, down south, I'm working with a big box retail leader, and she's really this week's challenge for her was, I keep running into, whenever I go sit to the C-suite to have a conversation, I'm getting shut down immediately and they're working around me. And I think, I think I'm living in a male dominated area. And so I was like, male, okay, that's certainly one perspective to look at. I wonder if there's something else available, if there's another possibility that's sitting in the room. And we went through this exact thing. Are they fast-paced, not spoken, or are they quiet and conscientious, or quiet and soft-spoken? And she's like, well, yeah, they're more quiet. And pretty sure as I worked through the model, she turns out to be an I, and everything she loves to do is very enthusiastic, very high-paced, all that. There's no details included. And she's not even really sure of the outcomes. And then she's not even really sure about how it's all going to play out, but she's certainly very super enthusiastic. She's from the HR department. And so as we started talking and we pulled this out, and she was like, oh, well, no wonder Ted is not on the same page with me. She's looking through this, and she was like, so now what do I do about this? And I'm like, well, what do we do about this? And she was like, well, even my energy is throwing him off. I'm like, good notice. Absolutely. What do you want to do about that?
Yeah.
She was done. It was really cool because she was able to kind of look at it, and she was like, okay, so when I come to the meeting, I need to have this in mind. I need to be prepared to speak to results. And then she even went so far as, well, I probably need to talk to Ted ahead of time and ask him, are these actually the right measurements? Is this accurate? And then John, the other guy that's sitting in the room, is this going to play out well in the group if we roll it out this way? So that when she steps into the room then and deliver it, she's already got the two people that she was already struggling with already bought in.
Yeah.
And so she was really excited. The meeting is this Friday, and so I'm excited for it too.
Yeah. Well, just like, the light bulbs just turned on that fast for her.
Yeah. And that's the part that I love about it, is just, you can grab those 4 quick points pretty quick and already begin to notice. And of course, like I said, it does have its limitations, but it gives you something to start practicing, start playing with, start. And then that self-awareness piece, was really huge. It was like, oh my gosh, I'm doing this. And so it shifted her out of one perception, which is, well, I think this is just this male dominated thing, to a whole different modality, which is, oh, that's actually not it at all. One cares about results and accuracy, and the other one just wants to know that it's going to play out well. And that's not a gender-based thing at all.
No.
It's just a personality style preference.
Yeah.
It was very cool.
And that shift gave her a whole new approach. I'm excited for her on Friday too. You got me all excited. Because now she's got a whole new approach, and it's going to make such a different impact for her as she does that in her leadership.
Right. And as she continues to practice, so just that, it's great to do it one time, but the follow-up accountability actions for her are going to be every single meeting. Every meeting you go to with every staff member, you're bringing this with you. Who are they first? And so 5 minutes prep before a meeting, and it's already pulled her energy from too high-paced and too outspoken about things that people are unsure about into more measured energy, reading the team better. Really solid for her, a solid win.
Yeah, that is so cool. What are other ways that you see this instrument making an impact on people? You've used it for, how long have you used it now?
Since 2012.
Yeah, that's a pretty significant time frame under your belt here of using it. And like, what would you say is the biggest, most significant impact that this has in the work that you do?
For me, it's that speed to use or speed to value for the person, being able to very quickly diffuse situations that they had one mindset about, but then it opening up and giving them really solid, again, but I'm a D, so results oriented, right? Them to be able to step into action right away and see results from it right away. That for me is the biggest win. Yeah. There's a lot of things people don't quite see all the results, and so for them to be able to get a win under their belt really quickly really matters, and it helps with the buy-in process, and it helps them feel like they're moving in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think I hear the power of it too is not only the assessment itself, but the conversations that you get to facilitate with that. That really is, it brings assessments to life when people sit down and actually go through a coaching program like what you do.
Yes, absolutely. And them processing it all through and watching them grow. That's so cool. I love it.
It is. So, people might want to reach out to you and learn a little bit more about the disc and a little bit more about what you do.
Sure.
Tell us how people get in touch with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, it'd be really cool if you wanted to pop on to my business Facebook page and just follow it. Because all my contact information is there, and then you can see more of me there. Or if you're not a Facebook person and it's just not your deal, I'm also on Instagram, and so you can find me there. It's really easy to connect with me there.
That is so awesome. Thank you so much for coming and telling us a little bit about the disc. I'm energized and excited to even learn a little bit more. So thanks for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me.